Yeah, that was a crazy. Order. We're going to get started here. If you could please take your seats. Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the January 2nd, 2024 Board of Supervisors organizational meeting. We're going to start tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you care to join. Just as an announcement, I'd like to let everybody know that this meeting may be audio and video recorded by third parties. We're going to begin today's meeting with something very special, as many of you know and are here for, with the swearing in of some of our newly elected officials. We have Judge Marty Goss joining us today to help us with the swearing in, and I would like to introduce and call to the front Mr. Sean Walsh and Mr. Nate Woolman, our newly elected supervisors.
Gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here and my honor to be here to swear, so you may swear or affirm an oath of office. So, Mr. Walsh, Supervisor Walsh, would you care to go first?
I would, thank you.
All right. And you have, West Goshen has one of the shortest oaths of office certainly in this area. So, I have it sweet. Okay. Repeat after me, please. Please raise your right hand. I, Sean Walsh,
I, Sean Walsh,
do hereby swear or affirm
do hereby swear or affirm
that I will uphold and defend
that I will uphold and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
and I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand and state repeat after me. I, Nate Woolman,
I, Nate Woolman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will obey,
support and defend
support, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of
the
Pennsylvania,
Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will, and the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
and the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
and I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations.
And next, we are going to welcome our newly elected auditor, Mr. Michael Lambert, to the front.
Please raise your right hand. And please repeat after me. I, Michael Lambert,
I, Michael Lambert,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will uphold, defend, and support
that I will uphold, defend, and support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of
the
Pennsylvania,
Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
and the ordinances of West Goshen Township,
and I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Very good. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to all of our newly electeds, and thank you, Judge Gosh, for helping us out this evening.
Nice to see you.
You as well. Okay, so now comes the time in the meeting where we are going to elect our new chair of the board. As the vice chair of the board for the last 3 years, I'm going to open the floor for nominations for chair this year.
So I would like to nominate Ashley Garnier as Chair of the Board of Supervisors for 2024.
Is there a second to that?
Yes, I will second that.
Any comment? Discussion? Any public comment? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously. Thank gosh. All right, and now I am going to request some nominations for vice chair of the board this year. Would anybody care to make a nomination for vice chair? I will make a nomination for vice chair. I would like to nominate Tina Marie Smith for vice chair in 2024.
Thank you.
I will second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? Any comment from the public? All right, we're going to vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Tina.
Thank you. All females at the helm.
I know. Is everybody ready for this?
Ready?
Girl power up here. All right, next item on the agenda, item number 5, is the recognition of Stephen Pelna for his service as Chief of the Westchester Fire Department. Steve is here tonight, joined by many others, and I'm going to turn this over to Tina.
Hear me? Okay. Yes, I have the honor. I wanted to start off by sharing some of Steve Pelna's background, how he rose up in the ranks within the fire arena, his amazing career so far, and his dedication to the community. Chief Steve Pelna was sworn in as Fire Chief of the Westchester Fire Department on January 1st, 2021 until 2023. Chief Pelna joined the fire department in 1997 after moving to the Westchester area from northern Chester County, where he was a member of Ridge Fire Company No. 1. Steve began as a firefighter and rose through the ranks of Assistant Chief, Lieutenant, and Captain of 1st Westchester Fire Company. The chief is not only charged with coordinating fire crews with emergencies, but he oversees many administrative duties, such as the department's budget and serving as a liaison between the department and all the municipalities that they serve. Steve's position as fire chief is 100% volunteer, while he holds down a full-time demanding job in emergency response, which could be 24/7, as Steve will attest to, along with spending time with his family. If that's not enough, Steve also works part-time for the Chester County Department of Emergency Services on the Hazardous Material Response Team and as a fire instructor. So So he's been very busy. I don't know how he does it. I'm not quite sure when he sleeps, which I tell him that all the time, with all the duties and responsibilities to the community. Another one of the chief's responsibilities that the West Goshen Board of Supervisors treasures and so appreciates is his involvement in the Fire and EMS Coalition, along with the other coalition members, of course, where Steve has served since the conception of the forming of the coalition, which has been about 2 years now. We're also pleased to hear that he will continue in that role for another year, unless I can convince him a little bit longer. We'll see. Steve has added so much insight, suggestions, and input into the coalition meetings and has made a large impact on the community as a result of his involvement, along with the other members of the coalition. Steve also made sure the board was educated on the fire side by taking the extra mile and actually using vacation time from his full-time job to give us a tour of his amazing firehouse there. So we really appreciate that. Also, over the past 2 years, he made sure the board was educated on the operations from the fireside perspective, like budgeting, construction, capital costs, and projects, equipment, and processes, which we really appreciate because it's helped the board a lot. Not only do we share the same environmental professional background in environmental remediation and emergency response, but Steve has become a good friend that I can rely on, and I really appreciate that. Due to Steve's strong business and emergency response background at his full-time job, he has added more than just the fire side of his job as a chief. He's added the business perspective, which is really important and unique in that area. Adding the business side to the fire chief's responsibility was a great asset to the community, where he could look at the full picture and evaluate the situation before coming up with a solution. We're very proud and grateful for Steve's time as chief to serve our community. On behalf of West Goshen Board of Supervisors, we are honored to present this award to the chief for his outstanding, courageous, and dedicated services to our community. Thank you for all your services, Chief.
Wow, thank you. First off, thank you to the board, Township Manager, Mr. Bayshore. Certainly spent a lot of time with Tina and John on the coalition. Out of all the municipalities we serve, 6 of them, you guys are certainly the pioneers. Something we've struggled with as long as I can remember in my career is our interaction with elected officials, but you guys have given us the forum for us to all work together. So that's been amazing. I can't thank you all enough for what you've done, and I really hope our other municipalities within the region, the county, are as forward-thinking as all of you are. So again, thank you. It's been a great time, and I look back just the last 3 years. I remember 3 years ago we were presenting on our budget. I was presenting on our budget. I was traveling. I was in Florida, and we were doing a PowerPoint remotely. It was during COVID, so we certainly weren't in this setting. So it's amazing to see what's changed just in 3 years. But thank you for this. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the support. And I'll continue to do what I can on the coalition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 6 on tonight's agenda for public comment. So does anybody in the audience have a comment on an item that is not on tonight's agenda that they'd like to raise? All right, hearing none. We'll move on to the staff appointments for 2024. So I'm going to read here the staff appointments, and then we're going to take a vote. We'll make a motion, take a vote after I'm finished reading. For Township Manager, Secretary, and Open Records Officer, Christopher Bayshore. For Deputy Open Records Officer, Jennifer Polinoli. For Finance Director and Treasurer, Christine Riffey. For Assistant Finance Director, Human Resources Director, Jennifer M. Lapser. For Deputy Tax Collector, Kimberly A. Green. For Park and Recreation Director, Kenneth Lair. For Chief of Police, Michael P. Carroll. For Township Engineer and Deputy Zoning Officer, Brian Kulikowski. For Street Superintendent, Mark Bertolami. For Park Superintendent, Doreen A. McClune. For Wastewater Superintendent, Michael Maffa. For Director of Code Enforcement, Fire Marshal, and EMC, Andrea Testa. For Building Code Official Deputy Zoning Officer, John Beswick. For Assistant Fire Marshal, Building Code Official, Michael McCarthy. For Deputy Zoning Officer, Harrison Whalen. For Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator, Lisa Cavada. And for Part-Time Special Project Engineer for Greystone, Richard Craig. Is there a motion to approve these staff appointments for 2024?
I'll second that motion.
All right, is there any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes 5-0. Item number 8, we are going to announce the professional consultant appointments for 2024. The Township Solicitor, Buckley, Bryan, McGuire, and Morris. For Labor Council, Eckert, Siemens, Sharon, and Malott. For Consulting Engineer, Carroll Engineering Corporation. For Traffic Engineer, McCormick Taylor. For Outside Auditor, BBD Incorporated. And for Zoning Officer, Rental Property Inspector, and Assistant Fire Inspector, Code Inspections Incorporated. Is there a motion to approve the professional consultant appointments for 2024?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any comment from the public on these appointments? All right, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously, 5-0. For item number 9, we're going to propose the appointments for specific terms in office to various boards and commissions. For the Planning Commission, Vito Genua for a 4-year term, R. Douglas Stewart for a 4-year term, and as board liaison, John Hellman. Should I run through all of the commissions, or should we vote on each?
I think you should, for these, Madam Chair, for these, I would recommend doing each of these individually for like planning commissions and
Okay.
boards and so forth.
Okay, so for these appointments for the Planning Commission, is there a motion to appoint them for 2024?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Is there a second? I'll make the second. Any public comment? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to Parks and Recreation Board. Robert Chiffone for a 5-year term, Michael Piligali for a 5-year term, Edward Smith for a 5-year term, and myself as board liaison. Is there a motion to approve these appointments?
So moved.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. John, go ahead.
Okay, that was John. Any comment from the public? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes 5-0. For the Historical Commission, Nate Woolman as board liaison. Is there a motion to approve this appointment?
So moved.
Thanks, John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tina. Is there any comment from the public? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to Sewer Authority. Tina Marie Smith as board liaison and Sean Walsh as board liaison. I'll make the motion to appoint them for representatives for 2024. Is there a second?
Actually, it's not really a board liaison. Is it a member?
No, these are just the board liaisons. There are no other members up for reappointment other than the discussion that's further on in the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
So we had a motion and a second. Any public comment? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the Zoning Hearing Board. Scott Cullinan for a 3-year term and Nick DePrinzio for a 3-year term. Is there a motion to appoint them for 24?
I'll make that motion.
And thank you, Tina. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. Is there any comment from the public on these appointments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the Vacancy Board. Ashley Gagne, 1-year term. John Hellman, 1-year term. Tina Marie Smith, 1-year term. Sean Walsh, 1-year term. Nate Woolman, 1-year term. And Kurt Haldewinger, 1-year term. Is there a motion for appointment?
I'll make the motion.
One second.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, John. Any comment from the public? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the Pension Committee. Angelo Savaloni, 1-year term. David Brune, 1-year term. Walker Tompkins, 1-year term. Robert Holland, 1-year term. Hugh Purnell, 1-year term. Charles Creighton, 1-year term. And Sean Walsh as the board liaison. Is there a motion for these appointments?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tina. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Moving on to the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Scott DeLone, 2-year term. Dorothy Burden, 2-year term. Myself, Ashley Gagne, as board liaison, and Tina Marie Smith as board liaison. Is there a motion for these appointments?
So moved.
Thanks, John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Sean. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously. Moving on to administration. Sean Walsh as board liaison for 24. I'll make the motion to appoint Sean. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Nate. Is there any comment from the public on this appointment? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on. Police. John Heltman as board liaison and Tina Marie Smith as board liaison. Is there a motion to appoint them for 24?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Nate. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
Actually, for the next item of Public Works, I would like to propose that instead of myself as a board liaison, Mr. Wallman, Nate Wallman, is liaison with Mr. Hellman.
Okay. So for Public Works, then Nate Woolman as board liaison and John Hellman as board liaison. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, thanks, Sean. I'll second it. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously, 5-0. So now we need to consider an appointment to the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority. Who would like to speak on this matter?
Actually, I'd like to speak. I would
Sure.
like to actually nominate Mr. Robert Matty to be a member of the West Goshen Sewer Authority. I've known Mr. Matty for 25 years. He's a neighbor of mine on the street I live. Very capable individual, has an outstanding career with GlaxoSmithKline in the IT arena. I think his background and his skill set would be a really great fit for the authority, and I would like to make a motion to nominate him to join the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority to fill the vacancy that we have.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you for that nomination of Robert Matty to the Township Sewer Authority. Is there any public comment on this appointment?
I just have a question. Was there any other applications for this vacancy?
No, there were not.
Okay.
But we did advertise it on our social media and on our website.
Okay.
Is Robert here tonight?
He's not here tonight.
Okay.
Okay, well, hearing no public comment, we'll call the vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 5-0. And I guess we'll notify Mr. Matty now that we've taken, okay.
Yes. You will get an email from me tomorrow.
Great, thank you, Chris. Okay, moving on. For the representative to the Westchester Area Council of Governments. I have been the representative for the past year. I'm certainly willing to have that role continue, but if there's another member of the board that would like that role, I'm certainly happy to share.
That would be okay if you wanted to take a break.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will make a motion then for Tina to be the representative to the Westchester Area Council of Governments for 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Nate. Any comment from the public All right, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. The next is the appointment for the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association Board. This
So
is currently held by Mr. Walsh, is that correct?
Yes, it actually was myself and Robin. So for this year, we need 2 appointees from the supervisors, 2 voting members on the NIDMA, as it's known. I'm happy to continue. Maybe Nate would like to join.
I'd be happy to.
Very good.
Okay, great. So Sean Walsh and Nate Woolman for the NIDMA board. I will make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. John, is there any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. We're now going to appoint a delegate to the 2024 PSATS conference. Are there any members of the board that would like to volunteer to be the delegate for PSATS this year?
Well, I've been doing it for the last couple of years, but somebody else, please want to do it? How about Tina, would add that to your list of things to do?
I think you're doing such a good job at it.
If nobody else wants to take a plate at this apple?
You want to try it, Nate?
I can try it.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks for, and thank you,
You got
John.
the short straw there, buddy.
He's a newbie.
Thank you, John, though, for doing that for the past couple of years. I
Yes.
appreciate it. All right, so a motion then for Nate Woolman to be the voting delegate. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you. And is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, number 10, is the approval of the following depositories for 2024. And that is TD Bank, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trusts, and Santander Bank. Is there any discussion on this or any issues the board would like to raise before we call a motion for this? No? Okay, is there a motion then to appoint these 3 as the depositories for 2024?
So moved.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Tina. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. Call the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Item number 11 is to recommend to the Board of Auditors the Township's finance directors and managers' bonds be set at $7,500,000 for 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thanks, John. Is there any other discussion, or would someone like to make a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Sean. Is there any comment from the public on this item?
I should just like to make a comment as well.
Sure.
During the change of auditor to BBD, I did ask Ms. Riffey to discuss with BBD the appropriate amount for this bond with the auditor to see if they felt it was appropriate. Although they said that this wasn't in their area of expertise, they did say that it was in line with and more than comparable sized townships that they deal with. So it does seem to them to be an appropriate amount from what their experience is, because it was a question that had been asked previously. Also, with our new CD program, the amount of liquid funds that are available in any particular fund has been substantially reduced. So that's another risk mitigation.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Doug, you had a comment. Can you come to the podium, please?
Good evening, everyone. Doug White. Has the bond been raised? Does it go up every year?
I don't believe so.
No, this is the same amount that's been in place, at least during my tenure. So for this is the third amount in a row it's been the same.
Okay. If there's a decision to raise it, does that require discussion and approval or any kind of?
Yes, the board makes the recommendation and the Board of Auditors sets the bonding amount.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Doug. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll call the vote. Is there a motion to set the bond for the Township Finance Director and the Manager at $7,500,000?
Did we already have a motion? I think.
Did we?
Yeah,
No.
motion and a second.
And a second.
All right, well then we'll call the vote. All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Item number 12 is the Board of Supervisors meetings for 2024. The board meetings are scheduled for the first and third Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. except as noted. January 2nd, 2024, which is today, 5 p.m. for our organizational meeting. April 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. This is rescheduled from April 16th, 2024, I believe because it's the PSATS
Yes.
conference.
Yep.
And then November 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m., which is being rescheduled from November 5th, 2024, and I believe that's due to the election. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve these changes and this schedule?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thanks, Nate. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Tina. Is there any discussion among the board?
Madam Chair, I will just note that the meeting schedule was advertised properly in the Daily Local on December 20th.
All right, thank you, Chris.
With these changes, right, Chris?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there any public comment or questions? Okay, hearing none, then we'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 13 is the 2024 Township holiday schedule, on which dates the office will be closed. Monday, January 1st, 2024 for New Year's Day. Monday, January 15th, 2024 for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Monday, February 19th, 2024 for President's Day. Monday, May 27th, 2024 for Memorial Day. Wednesday, June 19th, 2024 for Juneteenth Day. Thursday, July 4th for 2024 for Independence Day. Monday, September 2nd, 2024 for Labor Day. Monday, October 14th, 2024 for Columbus Day. Monday, November 11th, 2024 for Veterans Day. Thursday, November 28th, 2024 for Thanksgiving. Friday, November 29th, 2024 for the day after Thanksgiving. And Wednesday, December 25th, 2024 for Christmas. Is there any question or board discussion for these holiday closures? I'm hearing none. Is there any public comment or questions as to these holiday closures? Okay, hearing none, then I will call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
I think we need a motion.
Motion and second.
I made it half an hour before making those mistakes. Okay, is there a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Thanks, John. And is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Tina. Now, is there any discussion on the board or any comment? Hearing none, we will call the vote now. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, aye. Okay, moving on to item number 14 and the possible adoption of resolution number 1, 2024 regarding fire, ambulance, and police response territories. Now, as far as I understand it, this is an annual resolution that establishes the response territories for our police, fire, and emergency medical services. Let's see. The coverage territories, as far as I understand, have not changed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any other comment or discussion anyone from the board would like to make?
Well, I'm just going to make a comment. We had extensive conversation and discussion, dialogue, over the past year with fire and EMS providers about making possible adjustments to our territories. And it was throughout that discussion, a lot of banter back and forth. Bottom line is the decision was made at this time not to make any changes and just to carry on the boundaries as they had been, as of last year. So we'll continue on looking at those over as time progresses, but at this point, we're not looking to make any changes.
Yeah, thanks, John. And I should have read this out loud. So for our police, obviously it's going to be West Goshen Township Police Department. For fire services, it'll be Westchester Fire Department and Goshen Fire Company. Offering basic life support will be Goshen Fire Company and Good Fellowship Ambulance Company. And for advanced life support will be Good Fellowship Ambulance Company. So is there a motion to approve resolution number 1-2024?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Sean. Is there a second on this motion?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Tina. Is there any public comment or questions on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we will call the vote. All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. And we will move on to our next item, which is the possible adoption of resolution number 2-2024, adopting the emergency operations plan for West Goshen Township. Did you want to introduce this for us, Chris?
Yes, Madam Chair. So before the board this evening is proposed resolution number 2-2024. This is the annual resolution adopting the township's emergency operations plan. I have spoken with our Director of Code Enforcement and Emergency Management Coordinator, Andrea Testa, regarding work that the county is doing on an appendix to all emergency operations plan pertaining to pipelines. Did I get that right, Andrea?
That's correct.
Okay. So the county had solicited proposals to develop an appendix pertaining to pipeline emergencies, and once this is available, it would be incorporated into the township's plan. As such, the board would need to consider an update when that is finalized, which I think might be in the next month, I'm going to say.
They're estimating.
So because there's only an estimate right now, what the board could do is adopt the plan as is, and then when the update comes out from the county, review that, and then adopt an updated version when that's available.
I just have a question, Andrea. As far as timing, the next month it's going to be done, is that when they're going to meet with the township, or do they actually have a plan now together?
Apparently, they have a plan already made for West Goshen. We have not seen it yet or had any discussions at all.
Okay.
So I know that they're going around to other municipalities as well, so that's why that 1 month is a rough time frame. So it may take a little longer.
Because I know initially they weren't going to develop a plan for the townships because they said, we know our township processes and procedures better than they do, which is true. So they were going to put the burden on us to formulate it. So has that changed?
We have not had any discussion with them except for our initial meeting.
Okay.
And that was, I believe, beginning of spring. So
Wait and see.
I'm not sure.
Is it a committee, or is it like the Department of Emergency Services for the county that has come up with the plan? Like, who wrote
They
it?
sent out an RFP and hired an independent.
Oh, okay, so it's
Right.
like a consultant.
It's a third
Okay,
party,
yeah.
and they're meeting with the municipalities.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll wait for that annex to be ready. So is there a motion then to adopt the emergency operations plan as is, with the understanding that when this is introduced, we can revisit and adopt?
So moved.
All right, thanks,
I'll
Sean.
second it.
Thanks, Sean.
I just have a question for Andrew. The EOP that we're adopting tonight, are we going to get copies of it to sign off on one even before we get the annex from the county and the pipeline stuff? I guess we really need to do it now, right? We can't wait on them. We don't know what their schedule really looks like.
Correct. Yeah, I would suggest signing what you have today, that resolution.
Okay.
And then whenever the county is ready, I'll bring that to you guys.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. All right, any public comment or questions on this motion?
Just one other follow-up comment. Tabletop exercise, we've been doing it annually, and in fact, we're required as part of our communications policy. Any plans for doing it with the CCDES or maybe February or something like that?
Maybe not February, but Andrew and I did discuss kind of planning out a tabletop exercise for sometime for in 2024, the first part of the year.
Okay.
And also the testing, has that been done or scheduled to be done? Testing the system that we're required to do on an annual basis too?
No, we'll probably do that when we do the tabletop.
Okay.
And the other thing to keep in mind is generally you can kind of look at each of the notifications that we send out as a test of the responsiveness of it. Like we're sending out notifications for trash and recycling changes because of the holidays. So Andrew and I do get reports on bounce backs or any sort of issues that come about it. So it is kind of being tested more regularly.
Okay.
Okay, and then we will take a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item number 16, the possible adoption of resolution number 3-2024, setting the township manager's 2024 salary. So this is the annual resolution that's going to establish the salary for the township manager pursuant to section 7-5 of the township's code of ordinances. The amount reflected has been appropriately allocated in the 2024 budget. That was adopted by the board on December 19th, 2024. The manager's salary set forth for 2024 shall be $169,687. Is there a motion to approve the salary for the township manager for 2024?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, thanks very much. Is there any board discussion or questions? Okay, is there any public comment or questions on the motion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item number 17, the possible adoption of resolution number 4-2024, amending the list of officials of West Goshen Township authorized to transact business related to the sale of municipal vehicles. Chris, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, Madam Chair. On note, I want to apologize. There was a typo in the cover memo for the last resolution. It should have been December 19th, 2023. So I apologize for that.
And I read the typo, sorry.
I apologize for that. So before the board this evening is proposed resolution 4-2024. This resolution would amend the list of approved officials authorized to transact business pertaining to the sale of municipal vehicles once they're authorized for sale by the Board of Supervisors pursuant to the second-class Township Code. This was last revised in 2022 through resolution number 9-2022. The only time any transaction would occur would be once the bid for the vehicle is awarded by the Board of Supervisors pursuant to the second-class Township Code. So the changes that are before the board this evening are a couple. There is the addition of Matthew Grandizio as a lieutenant within the police department, so this will reflect the entire police command staff. And then also changing out to add our mechanic, Jonathan Weddy. Mark and I have talked about this extensively. John is very integral in putting together everything for the sale of our vehicles, so we think adding him to this list would be appropriate. Would you agree, Mark?
Yeah.
He puts together everything that goes on municipal, all the questions, he puts all those together.
Great. Seems to make sense. All right, is there any discussion by the board or any questions? All right.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 4-2024.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Nate. Is there any public discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. And moving on to item number 18, the possible adoption of resolution number 5-2024, establishing compensation for members of the Planning Commission, Zoning Hearing Board, and West Goshen Township Sewer Authority. So the township is authorized to compensate members of these bodies through the PA Municipalities Planning Code and the Municipal Authorities Act. Pursuant to these laws, as well as sections 12-2 and 84-71B3, the compensation rates shall be set by resolution. And the proposed resolution would set the following compensation rates. For the Planning Commission, $30 per meeting attended. The Zoning Hearing Board, $40 per meeting attended. And the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority, $40 per meeting attended. And these are unchanged rates from the last resolution that was adopted in 2009. For alternate members of these commissions and the Zoning Hearing Board, they would only receive compensation when they are designated as voting members. So is there a motion to approve resolution number 5-2024, setting the compensation?
So moved.
I'll second that motion, but I do have a question. Should Sean and I be signing this, since we're both on the Sewer Authority, for approving a pay scale for two people that are on the committee?
They're separate bodies.
Yeah,
I think it's okay.
Okay.
I'll just note Madam Chair, that we did also codify in this resolution our practice now of anybody who wishes to waive compensation must fill out a waiver and file it accordingly with the township. And we do have those on file for all existing members who have waived compensation.
Okay. So then, wait, did we approve these rates at our last organizational meeting last year? So this
No.
hasn't been since,
As the board may recall, there was an issue previously where certain members were not
Right.
notified, and when we rectified that issue, notified of their compensation, when we rectified that issue, we made the determination that it's best to add this as our organizational meeting so that it doesn't go 14 years getting lost. And I also thought previously, these have been done by separate resolutions for each body. I just thought it'd be cleaner to do everything in one resolution, so it's all in one place.
I think that's a very smart decision, and I'm glad that we're doing this at this meeting, so that's very good. Is there any other discussion or questions?
Well, just to reiterate, for all members who are appointed to any one of these three boards or commissions, they will be informed that they will be compensated, right?
Yes.
It's going to be part of our protocol
Yes.
going forward. Thank you.
That they're eligible to be compensated, and then they can accept, correct? Right. Yeah.
I'll put them on. Mr. Crum, I notified you about your compensation if you're an alternate member, correct?
Yeah, and I have a question about
Sure.
this. As an alternate member, I appreciate that I volunteered for the job. I didn't expect compensation, but I go to enough meetings that pays for gas. So why are the alternates aren't treated equally as the sitting members are? The expectation is for us to be there, for us to listen, for us to contribute, and I don't see this as being fair. I mean, if you're a juror, okay, if you're an alternate juror, you're treated the same way the juror is.
That's just the way the state law is written that enables the township in order to be able to do this. So it's outside of the township's control.
Really?
Yes, the municipality's planning code in allowing for the appointment of alternate members also says that, the compensation is based on being an alternate voting member.
So that's not something that we can change.
No.
No, I agree with you though.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from.
I see
Makes
exactly
sense.
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's not going to make or break me, but I'm just saying that it should be
I agree.
equitable.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, why are there two different rates?
My best guess is because two of those bodies are decision-making bodies and one is a recommendary body. Again, these are the same rates that were set up previously. That is what I have surmised. I can't say that definitively one way or the other.
Are the rates cast in concrete too, as far as, is that
You have
flexible?
the
for the
authority to
board?
set them. So if you
Okay.
wanted to make them equal across the board, that is a decision that the Board of Supervisors could make.
Well, I'm just saying they haven't gotten a raise since 2009. Just saying. None of us are doing it for the money.
The rates for this compensation are empowered in the Board of Supervisors, so you can change them. And since it's a resolution, you can change them at any time.
I really don't want to vote on my own
Can we change it to
salary.
$40 for the planning commission and do it tonight?
You absolutely could. You would just need to, since we had a motion and a second on the table, we would just have to amend the motion.
Okay, so who made did we make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Walsh.
I'm on cloud nine, I'm not really paying attention.
Mr. Walsh
Okay.
made the motion and Ms. Smith seconded it.
Okay. So, Mr. Walsh, would you like to amend your motion?
I will amend the motion to change the planning commission meeting attendance stipend to $40.
Okay. Would you like to?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay. I absolutely agree. I think that's sorry, it wasn't to your question, Mr. Crum, but it did lead us to an improvement, so thank you.
The other thing I'll bring up to you is typically on all the boards that I've been on, the secretary and the chairman usually do much more work than the rest of the board does.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so just a thought. I know that many boards on. I'm sorry?
It's not exactly true.
It's not true?
No, we all do a lot of work.
Oh, well, I don't know that we can pay different members differently.
Yeah, it's a question. It's a question of state law. I can't answer that question off the top of my head. You might be able to, but I don't want to.
I mean, it's a volunteer job, I understand that, but I'm on many boards and committees, and typically you get what you pay for sometimes, particularly for the secretary's position and the chairman's position.
Okay, well, duly noted, and thank you for bringing that up. Okay, any other public comment or questions? Okay, hearing none, we will take a vote. All in favor of approving or adopting resolution number 5-2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 19, the discussion and possible approval of a revision to West Goshen Township's general fee schedule. So Chris, why don't you introduce this as well, if you don't mind?
Certainly. Madam Chair, before the board this evening is a proposed update to the township's general fee schedule. I'd also like to recognize Andrea Testa, Brian Glakowski, and Teal Jackson in our office who worked diligently on putting this together, and I think they've created a document that is much more user-friendly and much easier to read than what we had previously. So thank you for all the work that you did on this. The fees have remained relatively consistent. However, the main crux of why this is before the board is just the restructuring that was done to make it more user-friendly. I will turn to Andrea to see if there's any changes in any of the fees that she'd like to highlight.
We didn't really make any changes to the fees. Like Chris said, it was more a formatting issue that we just tried to enhance it to make it more user-friendly.
I did have a few comments regarding it. I think it was well put together and a good job, but I just want a little bit of clarification. I guess on the very first page, I thought that we should put in parentheses in the heading, one-time fee unless specified otherwise below. I don't want people to think that every time they come back and apply, that they have to redo it. So and where it's specified would be like initially, and then if you come back for a second hearing, that would be something that would be an additional cost. So maybe just put that up front, just as a suggestion, as one suggestion. And then also on page 5, under J, where it says the Board of Supervisors hearings,
Yes.
the conditional use, I would say the initial hearing is $2,000. And then the additional hearing below is $500. So we already have additional, but I think the initial hearing, conditional use hearing, we need those words initial hearing in there as a suggestion. Because it may sound like to me that every time you go, there'd be another $1,000. And then on page 7, M5, I'm assuming the false fire alarm fees are for residential and commercial there. If so, we should probably specify that. Aren't the fees the same? That we agree they're saying? Yeah. So we should probably specify for residential, commercial, right on number 5 in parentheses. And then number 7, is that also fire? I'm sorry, is number 7, 6 and 7 also commercial and residential?
So number 7 is.
Okay, so 7 is commercial?
Yes.
So we should probably specify that too.
And then number 6 is for any fire in the township that most of the time it's the insurance company requesting the fire investigation report.
Okay, so we should probably specify that for 6 and 7 because that was a little unclear to me. Maybe in parentheses if you don't mind. And let's see if that was it. I had one more. And then also same comment on the last page, number 10, under S2, false alarms. I believe that's for residential and commercial also, right? Okay, so we should specify that then too.
Okay.
That just clarifies it a little bit for me. Thanks, Andrea.
Sure.
If I may, on page 2, number 9, where we have fences over 6 feet in height, I think it should be height or take out the word in.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Oh,
Oh, number 9.
That's a typo,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a couple of comments too. Andrea, I think on N, which is page 7, rental inspection program, we've now made that a biannual. So it says annual on here, so I guess they're biannual fees at this point.
Yes, unless there's a tenant change.
Yeah, so maybe we should be more specific on that. It's a biannual fee unless a tenant change.
Are you talking about all of N?
Yeah, rental inspection program.
They still need a permit annually for it to be a rental property. It's the inspection that was changed to biannually. So there is still a fee associated with the permit that they need to get to have it be a rental property.
Okay, so it's just number 1 that needs to be biannual inspection fee.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And 7. And 7?
Yes. Well, that would apply to the inspections only.
So that would only apply to the
Yeah.
inspections.
Okay.
And then, just for clarification, what role do we play in G, which is page 4, on-site septic program? I thought that was administered by the county.
The inspections are made by the county. We have just an administrative fee that we track to make sure that they are actually getting it pumped out. And I believe it's every 3 years. They just have to send in proof of the pumping, and that's it.
So if we could just add how frequently that occurs then, so every 3 years, whatever.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else, John?
That was it.
Okay. Yes, great work on these. This is very good. Okay, any comment from the public on this general fee schedule or any of the changes that we discussed? Yes. Yes, Doug?
Is the septic pump out the same as it always?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We started that in 98.
Okay. All right, so time to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Need a motion.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's all right. Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the general fee schedule with the additions that were described here this evening.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thanks, Tina. Now, is there any discussion or public comment? Well, thanks, Doug. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 20, discussion and possible authorization to advertise for bid the installation of a solar array on the West Goshen Township Public Works Facility, Building D. And Kirsten Hertzak is here from Keystone Engineering Group. Welcome, Kirsten.
Thank you all. Thanks for being here, and thanks for putting this on the agenda for tonight in the new year. Okay, so I have 2 sketches that I'm showing, the first one on the screen, to just show like the general building that we're going to be locating the solar on, and you'll see some hatching that is indicating that those are obstructions. So that's an area in which we cannot put the solar panels. But basically these sketches are meant to show the contractor that this is generally where we have space and we need you to provide a solar system that is capable of outputting a certain amount of kW, which I have listed on the next drawing. So I guess just general thoughts on the overall site plan. It's the entirety of Building D. One thing that I do want to adjust is my hatching on the north roof to basically show that that entire north section should be hatched out. We don't want solar panels on the north roof. We won't get enough sunlight there. So that's pretty much it for that drawing. And I'm just going to scroll, hopefully.
So what's the total percentage of the roof that will be covered without the north? About?
Honestly, it's a great question. I did not do a calculation on the percentage, so I don't have an answer. That's what I need. Thank you. Can I zoom?
Yeah, zoom is down in the right. Yep.
Thank you. All right, so in general, this is your current layout of the Building D electrical. So you have a pad-mounted transformer feeding a CT cabinet with an in meter, and then you come into the automatic transfer switch and then feed your various loads. You also have a second automatic transfer switch for a dedicated load here. So this is all existing with your generator. What I am proposing is the contractor will tie into the line side of your 400 amp automatic transfer switch, and off this line side connect into a non-fused disconnect switch, and then an overcurrent protection device specifically dedicated for, I think that says 260 kW solar system. That was revised internally and I missed it on here, but that should be 250 kW, and that is the minimum size system that we are asking for from the contractor. That is appropriate for the 400 amp equipment that you have available on site. So if we wanted to try to overly increase that, we would be looking at a bigger upgrade. So I'm not recommending that at this time. So 250 is the round number sizing. Of course, we can go plus on that, but I don't want to go minus on that.
Is that the existing generator, or are we installing a new one?
That is the existing generator.
Okay.
Yep.
So that'll cover that plus the rest of the building?
Yes, so the solar will be separate from that, obviously, because the solar is net metered, so you don't need to tie that into the generator, but the generator currently covers the whole building, and it will continue to do so.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only other additional change that I'm recommending here is PICO requires an out meter for net metering. So you will have 2 meters on the building now. You only have one currently, that's your in meter, and this second one here is labeled as your out meter. So I did look up the requirements for PICO, and basically this is how they require you to set this up for net metering.
So for the out meter, that would be registry voltage that would be put back into the grid?
Yeah, power, KW. Yep, that will be put back into the grid. So the way that net metering works is you are not consuming the solar generated. What you're doing is you're tying into the grid, and now the utility has this additional generation that they can basically pass back to you, or they can use anywhere else on the grid. So it's not directly consumed by you. But that is how you would make money off of, or a reduction in a credit on your utility bill. So that they basically need to meter what you're outputting so that they can make that reduction.
So is that reflected on our monthly electric bills?
It is. Yep, it will be.
Okay.
Yep. So those are my 2 sketches. I had a discussion earlier with the township team on one additional sketch that I would like to add, and that will be for general location of the inverter equipment. So when you have your solar array, you also need to have something that converts power from DC to AC, and that is called an inverter. So that inverter is something that could be one single unit at 250 kW, or it could be broken up into multiple units that collectively combine to equate that 250 kW. So in talking with the township team, we discussed a location, and I now have a drawing for that. So I will be showing a sketch for that ultimately on the bid set, so you don't see that today.
Did you decide on one location or multiple?
We decided on one location in which they could either put one piece of equipment or multiple. So I'm not dictating to the contractor one inverter unit versus multiple. That is up to them, but they do need to equate to the 250 kW.
Is the location interior of the building?
It is. It's interior. It's just on the opposite side of the electrical room. That's currently the tool room, and there's nothing really anchored to the wall over there, so the team decided that they would be able to relocate what they do have there. I think there's some shelving and equipment that they can move.
Because the inverter is probably likely the highest maintenance item over the life of this system and may need replacement at some point, so protecting it is a good idea, is my understanding, and obviously we need access to it and
exactly.
when that time comes, to it,
Exactly.
you know, because I'm sure we're going to be looking at it frequently as well.
Yeah, I have seen units where they put them outside, but then you just have more expensive equipment because you're buying that protective enclosure.
Yeah.
So this does, I like the option of putting it inside there as well.
Kirsten, could you go back to the size of the system? We had a preliminary scoping exercise done for the Sustainability Committee, I forget the company's name, and they kind of did a preliminary layout and expectation of what the size of the system could be. Was it similar to this 250 kW you're proposing?
It was very similar. I believe it was something near around 266 kW. My limiting factor here that SRE, the company that looked at it at the time, that they were not aware of is the single line. So the 400 amp system that we have available, which is what led me to the 250 kW system.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One other question about it. Did they assume locations on the north-facing roof or not?
They did not.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the sketches. I did not pull up the specifications, but I do just have some general line items in the summary of work that I want to let you know that we're considering and are including in the contract docs. So what we are asking for from the contractor is final design, installation, and commissioning of a minimum 250 kW solar voltaic system on the roof of the Streets Department building, which is Building D. We are also asking for selection, installation, and commissioning of a minimum 250 kW solar inverter in the Street Department building I previously had or pad mounted outside. That will be removed. We are also asking for miscellaneous modification of the existing electrical distribution system, including conduit, wire, and circuit protection equipment. We are asking for coordination with the utility to establish a net metering connection. And we are asking for the contractor to file all required documentation associated with the Inflation Reduction Act rebate for the installation of the solar system. And one additional item, we will have the contractor be responsible for all electrical permits and fees. So that is the general scope of it. Any specific questions?
So I have a couple of questions, Kirsten.
Sure.
As I mentioned earlier to you before the meeting, I would like to see us request the bidders to state what their performance guarantees are on the output of the system, and also what warranties they might have over time. So solar panels will reduce their output over time. So in terms of performance guarantees, what is their performance test from day one, and what would they potentially guarantee over 5, 10, 15, 20 years in terms of output? Mm-hmm. And then for the warranties, it would be, what are the warranties on the equipment and panels and inverter in particular. So if we could request the bidders to answer specific questions on that, I think it would be useful.
Okay.
And then inclusion in the documentation for bidders, we had done the structural assessment of the roof. I think we should provide bidders with that information to make sure they're comfortable with what we've done. Mm-hmm. And also we can provide building drawings showing the dimensions of the roof to help them with panel layout.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Those were some items that came up in our meeting earlier today, and I have that on my list to include. What we will be doing is not necessarily including it as part of the bid, but including it as additional information to the contractor. So it will be a full drawing set of the building, and it will also be the structural, and one additional item will be a year's worth of utility bills with the account number redacted, just so that the contractor has that all in one place. They will certainly be needing that during design, but we want to give it to them up front.
Okay, thanks, Kirsten. Sorry, are you?
I'm done.
Okay.
So I had one other question then.
Yeah.
So in terms of the schedule, obviously the bid documents you provided had placeholders, I believe, in there. I think you told me that you had a good discussion with staff today around the most likely bid schedule. Could you update the board on that information?
Thank you. So, please recall that we are planning this as a design and then build type of contract, and so the schedule might be a little bit daunting up front, but I promise you it'll be okay. So our general construction timeline is 720 days for substantial completion and 780 days for final completion. So we are hoping to bid this end of this month, and then essentially having notice of intent to award by 3/19, that will be March 19th, and then ideally bid award by the 18th, the April 18th meeting. So with that planned schedule, we would be looking at final completion likely end of May 2026. Some of my considerations that went into coming up with this date is the design is expected to take around 6 to 8 months, and then from there we would move into the submittal phase, which is expected to be around 3 months, and then we're unclear about lead time for some of this equipment. With COVID and all of that, we have not seen much improvement on lead time for inverter style equipment, so that's one of my main concerns. So I'm giving it about a year before we actually have the equipment on site. And then from that point, I would expect about a 6-month construction time frame to actually physically be on site and install this.
Okay,
Go ahead, Ash.
go ahead.
Is there any way to, given that once we award a bid, the bidder's going to probably know what the lead times are for the panels and the inverter?
More or less, they're not going to know for sure until we get to the submittal phase. They'll know their general number.
Okay,
though.
so is it not possible during the design and submittal phase to place preliminary orders and try to overlap the timeline a little bit for both the procurement and the actual design?
I think that we certainly can. If we approach this as the design build, I think that that's something that they might consider up front, requesting that they get approval up front for X size system, and then we preliminarily approve that so that they can get that moving. I think that that's something that can be done. We've done that before on other projects.
Because that might shave, I don't know, 3 to 5 months off the overall timeline.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Okay.
All right. No, I was just going to sort of summarize what you said here, just make sure I understand. So by the end of this month, you're posting the job, and then you're anticipating that you're going to award a bid at the end of March or close to the end of March.
Intent to award.
Intent to award, yeah, okay.
So that we have that month to review the contractor clause.
Okay. And you said 720 days between substantial, so for substantial completion, so what's the difference between substantial and final completion? Like what's going on in that period of 60 days?
Yeah, so substantial is normally when we then come out, make sure punch list items are all taken care of. So that gives us that time frame between substantial and final. And then it also allows for just time to issue final billing and all of that.
Okay.
Just a little bit confused on your timeline here. You talk about a pre-bid meeting on February the 8th.
Correct.
On 5.01, you're talking about a pre-bid conference on February 22nd. Are you changing that date?
Yes, so the items that you see listed in the front-end documents, those were meant to be highlighted, and I was proposing this schedule to Chris for his approval prior to updating those. So those items are not correct in the contract documents currently.
Right, so we're going by what we have in the first sheet here.
Correct.
Okay. Second question, this project's going to be subject to responsible contractor ordinance. And from my reading of the bid documents here, they have to report the answers to the owner, which would be the township. Now, what's going to be the process or the protocol for vetting and making sure that these contractors are providing truthful answers to all the questions that they have to comply with, all the requirements they have to meet?
Yeah. In addition to the front-end language, in specification 263100, this is the photovoltaic collectors specification, we have specific requirements for the PV supplier. And so at a minimum, we are requiring that they are actively involved in the design, supply, and installation of PV systems for a period of at least 5 years, that they maintain a permanent staff of engineers and technicians for PV systems, and then also that they provide a detailed experience list of at least 5 PV systems furnished and tested by the PV supplier, including project descriptions, contact names, and phone numbers in that list. And then they should list at least one PV system of similar size and scope to this project. So we will have that opportunity to call their references and make sure that they are who they say they are. They've done what they say they've done.
But is that something that will be within your scope of work to do?
It will be, yes.
Kirsten, could you just explain to me there's 3 kind of chunks of documents here. One is the general bid documents, and then there's the technical specifications and then the electrical requirements. So obviously Keystone's got the electrical requirements down, obviously. The other piece is how did you pull those together? So as we talked about this process, and Keystone being our lead engineer on it, there's some kind of new aspects to this that typically you wouldn't be involved with. So did you get the information from Carol? Did you get information from staff? How did you pull it together?
Yeah, so a combination of both. Chris Peterson was involved with me on the front end, and he sent me what we had just put out for the EV charging station job for all the front end documentation. So we did look through that. Keystone does do this type of work for other clients. We just have not had done it with you guys. So you do have some nuances that we haven't done before. But we coordinated with Chris Peterson on that. He was involved in our meeting today, and I got some additional feedback from him. So that's generally what we did to pull it together.
Okay, and Mark, you had a chance to look at the full package here. Are you comfortable with the scope in terms of requirements and the bid documents?
Yeah, really today was the first time I had
Okay.
a look at it.
Well, it seems comprehensive to me, but I'm not close to the details of what the township requires.
No, I'm
Okay.
Yes, Steve.
Did you mention a monitoring system at all in the specification?
I did not mention a monitoring system.
I think that you probably want to mention a monitoring system
Okay.
so that you're being able to identify panel problems
Yeah.
as well as inverter problems.
Yeah.
And I would also suggest that the contractor install a monitor in the lobby downstairs that is tied into that so that the public can see exactly what the system is producing. And I think that'll help the public understand the importance of what we're doing here. And it also needs to be tied into the maintenance department so that they can look and see what the panels are doing, because these things are supposed to work, but they're, believe me, I have a system and it's had problems from time to time.
Yeah.
So you don't know about the problems unless you're looking at this, literally looking at the panels and the inverters and what they're producing. And the other thing is, you probably want to go with multiple inverters, because if one big inverter goes down, the system's dead. Okay? Whereas if you have multiple inverters, then it basically separates that one out. They come out and fix it, and then you're not dead in the water for the whole system for as long as it takes to track.
No, thank you. Great comments.
Those are really good comments. I really like your idea about having some kind of
Monitoring.
Yeah, that the public can just walk in and see.
48-inch screen downstairs.
I love that idea.
And people will really believe it.
And so we are only going to have the one inverter? Is that what you're saying?
Not
No.
necessarily, no.
Just
No,
the
I
one
just went over the
location.
two options, but you have one location for where the inverters will be installed.
Which is that tool room.
Yeah, and I'm leaving it up to the contractor currently on whether we want one or multiple inverters, because it really does come down to what manufacturer you use to define what the KW is per inverter. So I have not specifically said use only one inverter or use multiple of these.
What's the backlog for the inverters as far as time frame?
I don't know.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I know the part we needed for West Town Way was over 2 years.
And that's what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about
I
in
mean,
terms
so-
of lead times. Yeah.
That was part of our discussion at our meeting this afternoon.
Yeah, that's my
Brought up
concern.
Mark's dealing with his truck issues and everything like that. So
Yeah.
that's where our concern came from.
No, but I mean, the multiple inverter, we can't just dictate and say, look, we want more than one, because you're
I
right,
think that
if it
we
goes
can.
down, then.
Yeah, I think we can say multiple. I cannot specify exactly the size. I can tell them that they need to add up to that minimum size.
I think it's a
that's
good
point.
Especially with lead time needed on inverters.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a great point.
Kirsten, you guys had like experience with these sorts of projects before?
Yes.
And so have you experienced anything like what Mr. Crumb's talking about, where an inverter goes down and someone's just kind of out of luck?
Currently, no, but that's mostly because we've seen it on the median voltage end, so they have a dual system. So we're not like seeing, oh, you're crap out of luck or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. It's a good question.
Okay.
So just want to explore that a little bit more, because looking at Chris now, when we get the bids back, I believe we're going to have to give them the requirements on us. We're going to have to accept a low bid, correct? As long as they meet all the requirements that we've put in.
That's correct. I think if the board would like to see multiple inverters, we should include that on the front end instead of giving them the option.
Because if we give them the option and the low bidder is a single inverter, because it's cheaper than multiple inverters, and we believe that multiple inverters is a more robust system, we should specify it that way to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, do you agree with that?
Do you agree with the multiple inverters?
That's a really good point.
The reason that Steve gave, one goes down, you will lose the whole system.
Yeah. Doug?
I have two questions. The multiple inverters, you have to connect them in parallel, and each inverter would have to have the load load capacity of the entire system. So they have to be parallel.
Like if one goes down, the other must be able to.
So the voltage across, I went to college for all this, sorry.
Yep.
The voltage across each inverter has to be the same for the whole system. So
Agreed.
They have to be parallel. And so yeah, for redundancy, that makes sense. If they're likely to go there. And the second question is that the net metering, is the net metering going to be hardwired in, or can there be a transfer switch that could be automatic to go to consumption? And could there be a monitor, like a computerized type thing, that can detect the load that the township is using and then switch to consumption?
So for net metering, it's hardwired in. The utility does not give an option for
So
alternating.
you can't have a switch to go from consumption to net metering or partial either or?
Correct. If you're doing net metering, you're doing net metering. What we could have considered would be to purchase battery racks and do it that way, and that way you have that switch involved. But for net metering, there's no storage. So whatever you're producing needs to be used instantaneously. So it's going right onto the grid.
Okay, so and it would be PECO's option for the compost to use what we produce.
Yeah, and it's going to be more than likely that they're not necessarily going to have it used here, and that it's then just going to be taken off on your bill. Yeah, that's typically how they end up doing it. And then to speak to the parallel connection, yes, I agree with you, you need the same voltage, but I do want to clarify that when we have multiple inverters adding up to the 250 kW, unless we oversize and add additional inverters, we're going to be down a certain number of kW per inverter that does fail when it does fail. So we would be producing a lower rate, but it buys you time while you're still using majority of your system to purchase a new inverter.
So the inverters, an individual inverter is connected to a set of panels, is that correct?
Normally, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so to just sort of summarize here, you're going to be placing this bid. We've asked you to provide, I guess, the report for the roof structure to whoever, or in the RFP, I guess. And we should be hearing back about the bid at the end of March,
Yes.
perhaps? Something along those lines? Okay.
We had other changes, Kirsten, but I presume you
I've written them down.
monitoring system and multiple inverters and this kind of thing.
Yes.
And the other last question, as far as the responsible contractors, are you going to be providing them with our actual, like, what we adopted? Because it's pretty specific, our requirements, right?
I believe that is what I'm providing. Chris provided it to me, Chris Peterson provided it to me, so I need to confirm that that is exactly.
It is in there, I've seen it, it's one of the bid documents, it's specifically what we adopted.
Great.
Yeah, it's a 15-point checklist that they have to respond to.
Correct, yep.
Kristen had created a form that we're able to insert in all of our bid documents where this is applicable.
Great. Wonderful. All right, is there any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the public on this issue? Yes, Steve?
Are you going to apply for the gas agreement? Become an energy producer, or you want the contract?
That is on the contractor to do.
And are they going to be the ones that do the brokerage for the SRECs, or are you going to leave that open to the township?
So all of the forms will be required by the contractor, and then they will just coordinate with whoever is needed at the time to make sure everything gets signed properly and allocated properly.
Steve, were you talking about SRECs? So that's a kind of future requirement. We haven't made it. We can make a decision down the road as to who manages that. For we could either have a third party. It wouldn't have to be the builder, the design builder.
You don't have a third party.
But it's a third party rather than have it burden township staff.
But a lot of times that's done with the contractor, or the contractor makes one.
Yeah, we could ask for a separate price for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to select a design build contractor based on whatever they could do for SREC management years ahead.
Right.
I do have one additional item that I forgot to mention earlier on the bid form. We had talked earlier today about potentially adding an allowance item for unforeseen conditions, and also just if it does have to extend because of lead time, not having to come back and do a change order. So a baseline allowance item we were considering was $40,000, and I wanted to get opinions on that before we wrote that in.
Do most of your existing costs have 10% contingency in them?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would probably leave the contingencies. Any engineering projects usually leave the 10% contingencies and then come back to the board in the event that exceeds.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I'm hesitant to say anything tonight on that because I'm a little concerned about what bid size we'll actually get back. We've got one number that we're using as an estimate that we've budgeted for, but we don't know whether that's accurate given the cost of this equipment and inflation and some of the changes and the duration risk that the contract is going to have on pricing. So it's hard for me to really give you an opinion on that until I see what their bid proposals come in at. So I don't know if you could leave it flexible, but I would rather wait until we see the bid responses before we set that.
Yeah, so we can't leave it flexible. It's something that you put on the bid items, and then they would put a base bid of, okay, across the board, every contractor's including this line item for 40,000, whatever it ends up being. So it's not necessarily required, definitely not, but it's something that I've seen happen on bigger projects, and it just makes a lot of sense when you start getting into these bigger projects of $500,000 or more. So I just wanted to run it by you guys.
What was the anticipated total cost of the project?
The budgeted amount is $750,000, but to Mr. Walsh's point, we don't know what that's going to be until we see the bid results come back.
If we get bids in and they're $900, $1 million, we're going to have to regroup as a board and decide whether we reject all the bids and start afresh, or whether we find ways to fund the difference and still move forward with the project. So again, it's an issue for me.
Well, that's true, but if the bids come back at whatever they are, each of them is going to have this line item in it of the 40,000. So
Correct.
the 40,000 isn't going to affect what they are. We're still going to have the chance to look at all the bids and reject them if we want.
All the 40,000 does, in my opinion, is keep you from getting hit with a big change order on down the line. So it can help you on that front.
Right now, we're just putting out the bids. I think if you are really recommending that this 40,000 is something that would cover whatever unforeseen costs we might be looking at, that's fine. If the total project costs come back and they really do exceed what we've prepared for, then we're going to look at that, and every single one of those are going to have the $40,000 line item.
Exactly.
So it's not like putting it in later or putting it in never is really going to make that much of a difference. So I am fine with putting the 40,000 in now.
I do recommend, just to be clear.
Actually, I'd like to propose that we've had quite a lot of changes. I'd just like to see that fed back to the board, because you're not really going to post the PEM bid until the 24th. So we have another meeting. If there's any issues or something that we feel continues to need a conversation with you, we have a chance in 2 weeks just to make sure it's ready to go. I would like to make a motion to authorize the advertisement for bid for the installation of a solar array on the West Goshen Township Public Works building, with the proviso that we see a final inclusion of the comments that we've had tonight by the 16th. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Any public questions or comment on that motion? No. Okay. Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and add that to our February, what is it? February? January 16th meeting, yeah. Okay, moving on to item number 21, which is discussion and possible approval of a proposal from the Cohen Law Group for the negotiation of a new franchise agreement with Verizon of Pennsylvania, Inc. Chris.
Madam Chair, before the board this evening is a proposal from the Cohen Law Group to negotiate a new franchise agreement with Verizon of Pennsylvania. This agreement allows for entities such as Verizon to locate their facilities in the township's road right-of-way in order to provide cable service to the community, while in turn paying paying a fee to the township. The current agreement is set to expire on April 20th, 2026. Previously, the municipalities of the county have joined together in retaining the Cohen Law Group to negotiate this agreement for the entity of Chester, for the entirety of Chester County as a group, since that results in a lower fee for the municipalities. Additionally, they specialize in this type of work, and the township participated in this joint effort in 2019 when the current franchise agreement with Verizon was last negotiated. So the Cohen Law Group has once again provided this proposal for the municipalities of the county to negotiate the new franchise agreement. I provided a copy of the proposal for the board's review as well as the fee structure. The cost for this is available in the 2024 budget, and the fee is based on the number of participating municipalities. Our solicitor has reviewed the proposal documents and did not have any issues with them. I did note in the memo that's before the board that 5 municipalities have joined on already, and I've listed them for the board. But I've seen some emails going back and forth among different communities, and there's going to be, we'll probably hit that 20 number that's in the proposal document. So the fee, if we do hit the 20 municipalities participating, the fee would be $9,200 for our population size.
Okay.
And just a note, for the revenue that's generated in 2024, franchise fee revenue just from Verizon was $220,082. Total franchise fee revenue budgeted for 2024 between Verizon and Comcast is around $420,000.
Can you just give me the Verizon number again, Chris?
$220,082.
Okay.
And you're saying the 440s?
440s combined. The 420 is with
and
Comcast.
Okay. All right. So really, our charge tonight is to approve the proposal from the Cohen Law Group.
I've worked with their firm previously with Malvern. We participated in this in 2019. They're good. They are good to work with.
Okay.
So this is a commitment at this point to participate in this program.
Correct.
And it's like a 2-year piece of work for them. They obviously have to take some time to gather up all 20 municipalities if that's what they get. And they engage with Verizon to do this audit step, which is the first part around the current agreement and making sure that we've been paid for what we should have been paid. And then there's a negotiation phase, and then there's a final contract approval phase. So overall, it's about a 2-year process, correct?
That's correct. And Verizon needs to put the municipalities on notice within a set period of time, which they've done.
Okay.
So that's what generated this. And West Goshen Township took the lead in 2019 in terms of contacting them to renegotiate on behalf of all the communities in the county. East Bradford took the lead this time.
Okay. And how long is the new agreement? Like, how long is the franchise agreement?
It varies. When FiOS first started coming into the area, they were 10-year agreements, or they were 5-year agreements with multiple renewals. This time around in 2019, Verizon was looking for a shorter agreement. Generally speaking, the nature of entertainment is changing. It's not so much cable as it's more streaming services. So that's why there's a shorter agreement now. So we'd probably be looking at 5 years again, I would imagine.
Okay.
How many municipalities participated back in 2019 with them, do you know? Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe it was over 20.
Over 20.
Yeah.
Did we budget for the 20 participant level or for the lower number of participant levels you would call?
I asked the finance director the range, and she said it was available.
But we continue to see a decline in franchise fees over the last couple of years from Verizon.
I haven't done that analysis, so I can't speak to that, but I can tell you the general trend. The general trend is it's kind of leveling off as people change how they get entertainment.
Yeah. And we believe this fee that's proposed here in the kind of $9,000 to $11,000 range, we would not be able to presumably get our current solicitor to be able to do the same level of work and negotiate that as an independent, standalone township piece of work.
I don't want to say anything potentially derogatory towards Kristen. She is an excellent solicitor and an excellent attorney, but they specialize in this kind of work. This is kind of like their specialty, so to speak. And I will note 2 of the 5 municipalities on here are municipalities that Kristen represents.
So because of the expertise that they represent and because of the breadth of participation, it's unlikely that a township solicitor for either West Goshen or any other could really perform this level of work at a similar price.
I would agree.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nothing against Kristen.
No, obviously this law group they specialize in this sort of thing, and so, and they've done it before, and so we're thinking between 9,000 and 11,000. Okay. Any further discussion or questions on the board members? Any public questions or comments? No. All right, then can I have a motion to approve the proposal from the Cohen Law Group for the negotiation of a new franchise agreement with Verizon of Pennsylvania?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thanks. Second. Thank you, Tina. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, Kirsten, for being here. And thank you, everybody else. Have a good night. Oh, wait, I need a motion to end the meeting.
I'll second.
All right, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't like it. You guys.
Is everybody good with that? Everything's good with that?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. Jim.